Hey guys, welcome to the Community Proud Podcast. This is episode 19 with Jessica Szalai, the artist and owner of Beautifully Damaged LLC in downtown Hanford. You get to see how much of a loving person she is in this episode and how she's very involved with her family. And you'll see what she stands for. She's a really wonderful person. Go check her out. Go check out the store. Always got a lot of wonderful things going on out there. We have a Community Proud Podcast giveaway on our Instagram. Go follow us at Community Proud Podcast to win a free custom pair of shoes designed by our previous guest, Lauren Farrar. Her Instagram is at Brush of Wonders if you want to check out her work. It is amazing, really amazing work. And without further ado, we'll start the episode. You can follow our host, Dustin Allen, at DALLEN2199, and myself, Abram Jacobs, at _Abe.Jacobs.
Well, thank you so much for having me at the store.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. Love it.
I mean, this was kind of last minute.
Yeah.
But here we are, doing the thing.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
My name is Jessica Szalai. I am the owner and artist of Beautifully Damaged here in downtown Hanford. Been in business here at this location for about a year and 3 months.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what I do with every guest, I'm not sure if you've seen a few of the episodes or not,
Yeah.
but I basically just take them through their story,
Okay.
beginning to now, what you're doing now,
Yeah.
how you got started, inspirations, and then we ended off with, like, if someone were to want to be in your position one day, what are some of the things that they need to do, and what are some of the things that you've gone through to get here?
Well, okay.
So, before we begin, though, there's always a question I've been starting to ask.
Yeah.
It's like a warm-up question.
Right.
So what's your favorite thing to eat around downtown area?
Oh my gosh, there's too many. One of my favorite places is Kebab City.
Okay.
They have I never pronounce it right. It's called a Fautush salad. I don't know. I'm probably saying it horribly wrong. It's amazing. And then, of course, El Tarasco is off the hook.
Awesome.
And they're my neighbors, so.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And, of course, Fatties. Hi, Fatties.
Yeah, shout out to Fatties.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, let's go ahead and begin. Just tell us a little bit about where you grew up and where you're from.
Okay, so I grew up in Kettleman City.
Okay.
Little hole in the wall as you're going through to Pismo. That's where everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Blink and you'll miss it.
It's the place that has In-N-Out on the way.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up there. I'm an 80s kid, so yeah, good times. I mean, that was literally like Mayberry, you know, but I loved growing up there. It was
Awesome.
amazing, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you did?
Oh gosh, so those hills that you see, I actually rode my bike there.
Okay.
We used to just hang out. Like back then there was no internet really. So us as kids, once we got home from school, took off in the hills, riding our bikes, skateboards, yeah, just hanging out with friends. It was a really good time.
That's
Great
awesome.
times, yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Do you have any family back there?
I do. My sister-in-law and my brother still live there, so
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
But I miss it. It's that tight-knit community. Everybody knows everybody. That was the best, yeah.
So you have a brother there?
Yeah,
Older or younger?
Younger. I'm the oldest.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
was it being the oldest?
You're the trial kid.
Yeah.
You're the trial and error, but a lot of responsibility because I always kind of like looked out for my siblings. I have a younger sister and 2 younger brothers, and all kind of took on the mama role, you know, just because I was the oldest. So anytime like parents, you know, hang out with their friends, I was in charge.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what are the sort of things that you would do with them?
You know, drawing was a huge part of my life. So, you know, we would draw, just hang out, listen to music. My brothers, they really got into like fixing up cars. Like they would tear apart things and just to figure out how it was made. And so, you know, kind of let them destroy things.
Yeah.
My sister and me just kind of hanging out, you know. That's about it, yeah.
That's cool. So, When did you move back, or when did you move over here?
So I basically had my whole childhood over in Kettleman, and so since we didn't have a high school in Kettleman, I had to be bused over to Avenel High School. So I graduated Avenel High School in '95.
Okay.
And for a short period of time in my 6th and 7th grade year, I actually moved to Hanford, spent the 2 years there, and went back to Kettleman. And my mom always kind of liked Hanford, so back in '97, we moved over,
Okay.
yeah, as a family.
Okay. So what were you expecting before you came over here?
You know, since I had lived here for a short time, I kind of was expecting to kind of reunite with a lot of my friends, but in '97, I was already 19, you know, so it wasn't quite the same.
Yeah.
We had to make new friends. I did reconnect with a couple. But yeah, I just wanted to start my family because I was a teen mom, so I already had kids. I had one kid. And
Is it him right there?
no, that's my second.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a
The beard
24-year-old.
threw me off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was cool just coming back. I just wanted to raise my kids in a smaller community because of where I came from. And Hanford wasn't too small, but it wasn't too big either, so it was a perfect match for me.
Okay. So what are your kids doing right now? They're sitting right there.
Well, he actually plays for COS football.
Awesome.
So, and then my oldest daughter, she's going to school at Fresno City. And then my middle son, he goes to Hanford High, and he plays football. And then my youngest, he's an 8th grader, goes to Woodrow, and he plays football and baseball.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're a athletic family.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, pretty busy schedule then, right?
Yeah,
With
definitely.
obviously the store.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
definitely.
know, I mean, me just being in sports alone, it seems like we're running around to like tournaments.
Oh,
and
yeah.
games
Oh,
and
yeah.
practices all over.
Yes, it's hectic. But to me, sports kind of kept me out of trouble. You know, I played volleyball, I played basketball, I was even a cheerleader for a minute, and a softball. And I love the camaraderie. I love the tight-knit, you know, closeness that we all felt for one another. And I wanted that for my kids. I wanted my kids to really like grasp onto that brotherhood, especially since I have more boys. In football, I'm a huge football fan, so I wanted my boys to make sure that they were in a team sport, but something that you're looking after one another. So it kind of carries over to life, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about your art now.
Uh-huh.
When did you really start developing your artistic, I guess, mind and
Yeah.
drawing hand?
Actually, it was because of my grandma, grandma Josie. Sorry if I get choked up. I lost her. Sorry. I lost her back in '86, and that was the time that we spent together. She was a teacher's aide for Kettleman City, and so she always, you know, hey, let's draw, let's do this, let's do that, and that was where I bonded. And it's the best times of my life, you know, was just sitting with her and drawing, and so that lit that fire because I lost her at 9 years old, but I carry her with me, you know, me being 42 now. I wanted to make sure I carried her legacy on, so that's how my art started, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
thank
a really
you.
cool story.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we obviously see now, I mean, you care about it a lot.
Oh yeah, it's right next to my kids. I mean, my husband and my kids are everything, and then there's my art.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like my fuel, my passion to keep striving and getting better, you know. Yeah.
From the very first day when you started to do these things with your grandma, did you know right away, like, hey, this is what I want to do in life?
I did. It was just something, it was the joy, you know. It was that the love I felt, I never wanted to release that. And every single time I picked up a pencil and a paper, it was like I felt that passion and that driving force. And it was like, how do I keep this going and never stop. And it was always when I would draw and when I would paint. So I knew that at some point in my life, that's what I wanted. That was my goal, is to be an artist. Yeah.
So you said that you opened up this place about a year ago, a little bit over?
Yeah, I've been in business since 2012. That's when I created Beautifully Damaged. I really started out of my house. You know, it was, the way it started was my daughter was playing A-ball softball, and it was expensive. And so it was just like, gosh, how am I going to pay these fees? You know, it's just crazy. And one of my friends at the time had said, you know, why don't you paint furniture, you know, and do it as a business? Because I was doing it already, but I was only doing it for friends and myself.
Yeah.
I never even thought of doing it as full time. So it started as a pop-up business, and then it just kind of took over. I went into an antique shop for a few years, and then I was just like, you know what? I need to run my own business. I need to run it for me and do what I want and have my look and my passion come out. So that's how I started this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What were you doing before?
So you mean as before, like?
Before you started back in 2012?
I was actually, I worked as an administrative assistant, like a lot of office work.
Okay.
And my husband knew I hated it.
Yeah.
It was a job. It wasn't, you know, a career. It was a job. And he knew. And one day, finally, he said, quit your job. And I was like, no way. What are we going to do? And he's like, you're miserable. You don't want to be there. That's not what makes you happy. Get back into art. Because once I became a mom, I kind of put it on the back burner. Because at the time, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, art was kind of dead, you know, especially around here. Nobody was looking for artists. Nobody was looking for anything like that. So it kind of just, I put it away and just went into wifey and mom mode, you know. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what would be the word, like, what kind of new culture, I guess, have you seen come to Hanford?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, first of all, the whole place around Hanford is now like painted.
Yes, it's super cool. I mean, I look at it like a hipster vibe. I get that vibe from it, and I'm really like super jealous because it's like, gosh, I wish it was like this when I was in my 20s. Yeah. I think it would have been so cool, but you know, the timing wasn't right. So, but yeah, I'm seeing this transformation of, you know, all these artsy people and, you know, hipsters, and I just think it's the dopest thing ever. It's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. So, you said opened up last year, so around 2017 or 18?
18.
18?
Yeah.
Okay, so when was like that step you said to yourself, like, okay, now I'm going to take this from out of my home to I'm going to open up a place now? Well,
I was, you know, basically I was a vendor, you know, in another shop, and the vibe just was not good for me. You know, like the energy got bad, a lot of copying each other's stuff, a lot of hatred against one another, and I mean, I dreaded going to that place every single day. I mean, first 4 years was cool, but then the final year, I was like, I cannot take this. I mean, I basically almost gave up the business. It was that bad. But my husband was really there to back me up, and he's like, no, you're not going to let jealousy take over. You know, that it's all it is hatred because of jealousy. So take that and let's open our own. So that's what we did. And at first I honestly wanted to go to Visalia because I thought Hanford was not ready, you know, especially for my look and what I do. And I didn't think Hanford was quite ready enough because most of my customer base is from Bakersfield and Clovis and Visalia and Fresno. But I'm so happy to say I was wrong. I was really wrong. But yeah.
Shout out to husband.
Heck yeah, my husband's everything.
That's awesome.
I don't give him enough credit. I always tell everybody that I don't give him enough credit, but he really is my backbone. Like without him, I wouldn't be here, really. Yeah.
What does he do?
He's a correction officer.
That's awesome.
So he tells everybody, you know, that he goes to work and then comes to work.
Yeah.
Because I put him to work.
That's good.
Yeah. But it's a family business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just had wine and chocolate, and two of my boys were here working, and my husband was pouring the wine, and that was it. It was just us, and it was like, that's it. That's what we are, is we're a family business. We, you know, work off of one another, and when people come in, it's like, you can go to a big box business and you're lining somebody else's pockets, you know, building another mansion for somebody else. But here, you know, you're basically putting shoes on my kid, you know, like it's going back into Hanford, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I love small businesses.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you just have like family-owned small businesses.
Right.
Like, you're doing it for that family, the ones who like built up that store.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's really awesome.
Oh,
You
yeah.
help out this customer.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay.
My son can.
Awesome. Shout out to son.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, what inspired your look? I know you have like sort of a certain look.
Yeah.
What inspired it?
1993, Nightmare Before Christmas came out. I seen it in the movie theater, and I was a junior at the time, and it completely blew me away. I mean, I remember sitting in the movie theater and a tear was falling down my face. And at the time I was with a friend, it was like, why are you crying, you know? And I was like, at the time, this was unheard of. This was not normal. And the aesthetic of it, it was dark, but it was cheerful. It was just odd, but I found it like to be the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So that really like changed my whole art world. I was a portraiture at the time. Completely like walked away from it because it didn't inspire that aha moment, you know? And so yeah, Tim Burton was like my hero after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I just basically continued with that aesthetic, that look, that dark look. But I mean, I love the look of it, but it was just something about it's childlike. And, you know, there's innocence to it and there's happiness with it. So I think that's why I gravitate to Halloween. That's my favorite holiday. I think that's why, because I remember those Halloweens when I was a kid. I didn't get the store-bought costume. My grandma and my mom made them. And just the whole putting it together and the artistic part of it was just made it magical for me. So that's where I just kind of like followed in my path, you know? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good. You have really good stories.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So, is there anything else that you've drawn inspiration from while doing this business?
You know, Disney's a huge part just because I love Disney. I mean, the whole Walt Disney story really was passionate to me just because of the fact that he started from nothing, you know, started in his garage and, you know, just blew up, you know, and it was just something about starting from the bottom, getting to where you're at really spoke to me. But being Mexican and growing up in Kettleman City, it's predominantly Mexican. So I had a lot of Mexican folklore to go off of. And Dia de los Muertos is a huge part of my life. And it's not just a part of my life because I like the aesthetic of it. It's the meaning behind it, you know. It's a holiday where we celebrate, you know, your loved ones that passed on and you honor them and you're just carrying on like that love for them and remembering them. And so I was in love with that holiday before it became a thing with Coco. You know, everybody knows it now.
Yeah.
But before is just something speaking to me, and I guess it's because of my grandma, you know. I lost her and my grandfather really early, and they're a huge staple on my life. So I always wanted to make sure, like, let me continue to remember them, let me continue to pass on their legacy, you know. So my boys know about them because they're front and center in my life, you know. But yeah, that was another huge influence to me. And my grandmother, she actually passed away on Dia de los Muertos. So she had told me she died of terminal cancer. And she had told me, you know, being 9, you don't understand, you don't know. But she said, I'm going to go to heaven, and I don't want you to be scared. At the time, I couldn't rationalize. I didn't want her to go. I was selfish, you know. And I said, I don't want you to go. And she said, I'm going to prove to you that I'm going to be with you always. So when she passed away on November 2nd, 1986. But she died with a smile on her face. So, I mean, that was my sign. And to me, her love was so great that it carried on even past death. So, you know, what greater way to honor her than to always have that in the forefront of my store, you know, in my life. My life, really. Yeah. Yeah.
We should definitely be very happy about you.
Oh, yeah. She's here. I always talk to her all the time. I'm like, Grandma, help me. I'm sorry. I'm like crying on your show.
That's okay. This is a really touching moment. It's actually beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I want to talk about some of the classes that you have going on. What inspired you? I know probably you didn't always have classes.
Right, yeah.
So what made you want to start classes just to teach?
It was kind of funny because I have a friend who is actually an art teacher. I grew up with him in Kettleman, and he works, I believe, in Turlock High School. His name is Omar Salinas. Hi, Omar.
Shout out to Omar.
He got his degree, and he's doing, you know, the whole art teacher thing. And I thought, oh man, that's so cool. He stuck with it, you know. And we were messaging one time, and he said, dude, why didn't you become an art teacher? Like, you could have did it. And I said, dude, I cannot handle all those kids, like the responsibility of it. Like, no way. And he's like, I just think you would have been, you know, pretty good at it. So it always kind of like sparked something in me, and I just was like, okay, you know, I just didn't know what it meant, but it was there. And then all of a sudden these paint nights started emerging back in 2000, I want to say 15, you know, and people had hit me up, and I was like, no way, I'm not good around talking to large people, you know, and enough people kept prompting me, and they said, okay, let me see if I could do this with my friends, and just a small group, and I did it, and they were like, oh, that was fine, what's wrong with you, just do it. So that was it. Boom, I took off with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it was back in 2015?
It was 2016 actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of things were you guys doing at the very beginning?
So at first I was kind of like letting people give me ideas, like, you know, prompting me, you know, and a lot of it people were getting off of Pinterest and, oh, draw this. But being an artist, I had a hard time like recreating someone else's work. To me, it was just like, dude, that's copyright, and I don't want to mess with that. But it's something about the integrity of art. It's just that artist needs to be the only one that does that. So let me give them their props. I'll do something similar, but my take on it. So that's when I started saying, okay, give me ideas, but do not give me an image. Like, I'll do it on my own. And then it just went from there. So it was, you know, some influence with people, you know, telling me, you know, what they would like, and my twist on it too. So I've done a couple classes where it's like, you know, basic and, you know, flowers and, you know, cute scenes. But then it's like, let me do some Nightmare Before Christmas. That's my thing. So
I saw the Instagram with that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I just love it. There's just something about it that it's unusual. It's not the same as what everybody else is doing. I mean, and really, literally, you can go to any paint night and you will see similar things. Super easy. But I like people to push the envelope. I want them to really like push themselves and show themselves, yeah, you can do it too. Like it's not like only people with the talent can do it. A lot of people could do it. It just takes time and effort and nurturing to get to there. Yeah.
Did you go to school or anything for anything?
So I did. I went to West Hills, and then I went to the Academy of Art College, and I did a lot of it online, and it was cool. I mean, it was great, but I didn't really ever get to finish completely with, like my bachelor's. It was just being a mom, kind of, got the time. So I have the tools. I didn't have the degree to go behind it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now I like to transition into what I like to call like giving back to the audience now. If they were wanting to start their own little shop like this, what are some of the things that you learned, some of the experience, some of your failures that you've learned while doing this?
There's a lot of failures. I mean,
What's
really.
your favorite failure?
Gosh. Oh my goodness. I guess my favorite failure is running that other store that I ran, that I was in. I ran it for the final year. That was my favorite failure because I wasn't meant to be there. I remember, like, my grandma always used to say, even my mom, everything happens for a reason, everything. And I remember I was just down, like so down, and going, gosh, why isn't it working? Why are these people not responding to me? Why are they not getting that I'm just trying to help them? And basically it was because I wasn't meant to be there. That wasn't God's plan for me. God's plan for me was to be here, to do my own thing, to put my own spin, not just on, my art, but like my furniture, my aesthetic, my merchandise, things that I'm passionate about. I was supposed to have all of it in one location. And so I think that's my favorite failure.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Running your own business is extremely hard. I mean, one thing that has happened to me since the very beginning was one of my sons had a stomach issue. And my gosh, it was so upsetting to have to be like, gosh, I have to close. I have nobody to run the store. What am I going to do? And then you hear people like, oh, I tried to come and you're closed. But I needed to be in Fresno at my son's doctor's appointment. That kind of limitation is really hard because it's like your heart wants to be here, but your heart is with your child. So what's the priority? The priority is my kid. So I have to close. That's hard. And, there's no vacation days. There's no sick calls. I mean, I had pneumonia for a whole month last month. And I had the doctor literally say, I mean, do you want to be admitted? Because that's where you're at. Do you want to go to work or do you want to be admitted? So again, I had to close, and it was just like, gosh, this sucks. I wish I could do it all, but you're limited when you have your own store. It's you are married to it. You have to invest in it. You have to love it. It's like a child. You have to be there for it, but you also have to take care of yourself. And that, I think, is one of my hardest things, is I don't take care of myself nearly enough as what I should. Yeah. But and financial, it's not always great. Some days not a lot of people walk in. Some days it's too hot. We live in Hanford. So, I mean, that's hard, but then there's great days. Like, there's amazing days where you're just like, oh my gosh, everybody's coming in and everybody's loving it, and it's wonderful. That carries me over. That takes care of me as far as the bad days. Like, okay, if I have a bad day here and there, that's okay. It's going to happen. I just need to know I got to keep my mindset positive because, every business doesn't make it. There's that highs and lows. And if you could just remember to stay true to what you love, stay true to your passion. It's so easy with Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook that there's so many people that copy one another. But I find that if you stay true to what you love and what you're passionate about, you'll be successful. So I think that's the best advice I can give. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, to someone becoming an aspiring artist, they want to eventually get to like where you're at right now, just starting out, what are some of the things that they need to know?
I really think it's important to always make sure that you are doing your craft at least once a day or every other day, even if it's just doodling for half an hour. You know, making sure that you have that muscle memory is super important. I mean, just like athletes, you know, you gotta train, you know, to be great. And so art is the same. You have to make sure you're flexing that muscle, which is your brain.
Yeah.
And really keeping up with times. I think it's so important that you stay aware of your surroundings, you stay around of the culture, you know, what inspires you, and actually history too is a big thing. I mean, someone like me, you know, being Mexican American, you know, and the times that we're living in right now, some people would shy away from, oh, maybe I shouldn't put so much Day of the Dead stuff. You know, maybe it's too political right now. But to me, it's, well, let me tell the story of why it's important. Let me tell the story of how we got here, you know, and you'll see, you know, I got some vintage Mexican art here. And Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa, I have them here and up front so people can ask the question, who is that? And then I could tell them, well, they helped the Mexican Revolution. You know, they were in perilous times. I mean, they were going through some really dark days and they wanted to help out the Mexicans. So that's where we're at. And it's kind of like, you got to know that stuff. If you don't know it, how do you empower yourself? And then how do you explain who you are as an artist? You have to know where you come from. You have to be proud of it too. You know, you can't just let the world dictate who you are. You have to make sure that you are constantly reminding yourself how important you are, where you come from, your roots. And you could be anything. I mean, you could be African American, you could be Jewish, anything. You have to know who you are and be proud of that. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start wrapping things up.
Okay.
There's always one certain question I started asking ever since my 10th episode. How do you want to be remembered as, or who do you want to be remembered as?
Man, that's a good one. I think I want to be remembered as someone who never gave up. You know, like I said, I'm 42 and I'm just realizing, you know, I'm having some success at being an artist. And, you know, it was funny, one day I walked into Home Depot and I was, you know, I didn't think nothing of it. I was just dressed like I normally dress, which is Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, and had some Disney ears on, just being silly. And some lady yelled out that worked there, "Oh my gosh, I love your ears. I love this and that." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And the worker next to her said, "Oh, I know who she is." And I was just like, okay, try to ignore it. And she goes, "Don't worry. I was just telling her you're famous." And I'm like, "What?" And I go, "Me?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're beautifully damaged."
Your mom's famous, man.
I was so embarrassed, but it was just like super cool. And I told my husband, I'm like, "Somebody said I'm famous." I'm Hanford famous.
That's awesome.
I mean, I guess I love that, but I just really want people to remember me as someone who never stopped fighting, never gave up on her dreams, and was the most loyal mom and wife and, you know, friend you could have. I mean, you lose a lot of people when you have success. I mean, sadly, you really do. You know, Tupac used to say all the time, like, you know, you got your homies with you, they'll ride with you, but when you're low, no one's there. It's true. It is so true. I went through cancer with my husband. I lost almost all my friends, and that was in 2014. And I thought, man, how am I going to get out of this? How do you trust in people again? But you learn to know that you got to trust in yourself, and you keep your circle close and small, and not be afraid of inviting other people into your heart. that's pretty important. But I think that's the most important thing for me is I really want people to know how deeply I love. So if that was my lasting legacy, I'd like it to be that. Yeah.
Awesome. So is there anything else you'd like to add that I might have missed?
No, JC covered it. I mean, I'm pretty, like I said, I'm a little different. I mean, you walk in my store and you definitely see like, whoa, it's different.
Yeah.
For Hanford, I have a little bit of everything. I have a little bit of, an eclectic vibe, I would say. I mean, it's December and I got Halloween up on the wall. I mean, I get a little bit of farmhouse, a little bit of vintage, a little bit of new Mexican folklore, and of course Nightmare Before Christmas. But
So do you consider Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas movie or a Halloween
oh,
movie?
it's both.
Both?
That you can't say one or the other.
Okay.
No way. I mean, any true fan knows it is both.
So I'm assuming you watch that movie a lot, but when those seasons come, are you watching it at both seasons?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know all the words to the
okay.
movie. My kids know all the words to the songs because I make them watch it with me. We go to Disneyland special for October because the Haunted Mansion transforms, and so the Haunted Mansion is my favorite ride. But then when they do that, I'm like stuck, So it's pretty important to me. Yeah, like I said, I'm a little weird. I'm 42 years old and I'm wearing Jack Skellington all the time. But yeah.
It fits the brand.
It does. It totally does. I mean, gosh, you walk around here and you see black and white stripes everywhere. Even on my bags are black. I'm wearing. That's right. I mean, it's just part of who I am. It is beautifully damaged. That's what it is. It is beautifully damaged. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Do you want to shout out your social media?
Oh my gosh, yes. So you can find me on Facebook, Beautifully Damaged LLC, and you can find me on Instagram, Beautifully Damaged LLC. I even have an art page, Beautifully Damaged LLC Art. So I'm trying to transform my Beautifully Damaged page to just like the store and the stuff that I have in there, but the art page is just gonna be my art. So I'm really hoping to expand more with the art. It's been pretty important to me. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Check him out. He's awesome.
Thank you.
Of course. This is awesome. I love it. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to do this inside of your store.
Oh yeah, anytime. Thank
And
you.
we'll see you guys next time on the Community Proud podcast.
Thank you. Peace.